The message came on a Tuesday. It rippled through Earth's deep space listening arrays like a stone dropped in still water. At first, the technicians at the Global Space Communications Center thought it was a glitch. Supervisor Gary Wilson stared at the readings with wide eyes before calling his superiors. "This is not one of ours," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Within hours, every major government leader had been briefed. The message was undeniably artificial and clearly not human in origin. It contained mathematical sequences, simple element diagrams, and finally, images of beings unlike anything seen on Earth. First contact had arrived. 3 days later, Captain Laura Bennett stood in the United Nations Assembly Hall, her blue uniform crisp against the sea of diplomatic attire. At 42, she had not expected to become humanity's first representative to an alien species. Her background in both military strategy and xenolinguistics had put her name at the top of a very short list. "Captain Bennett," said President Clark, "the United Earth Space Command has selected you for this historic responsibility. You will lead the team meeting the Galactic Council representatives." Laura nodded, her expression calm despite the weight settling on her shoulders. "I understand, sir." The Galactic Council's message had been clear once decoded. They represented a federation of 27 spacefaring species. They had been watching Earth for decades and now deemed humans ready for limited integration. Their diplomatic vessel would arrive in 15 days. Admiral Frank Miller assembled the response team at the newly established First Contact facility in Geneva. The Admiral was a weathered man with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Our job is simple," he told the assembled specialists. "We learn everything we can while revealing only what is necessary. Every species looks after its own interests first. We must assume the Council does the same." Dr. Alan Wright, the team's chief science officer, raised his hand. "The energy readings we're detecting near Jupiter are concerning, sir. They don't match the signatures described in the Council's transmission." "Explain," the Admiral said. Alan adjusted his glasses. "They told us to expect one diplomatic vessel. These readings suggest at least 3 ships in a holding pattern. Either their technology works differently than we understand, or they're not being entirely truthful." Laura considered this information carefully. "Have we detected any communication between these energy sources?" "Yes," Alan replied. "Encrypted transmissions, but they're definitely there." The Admiral's expression darkened. "Keep monitoring. Captain Bennett, proceed with preparation for the official delegation, but we'll accelerate our contingency planning." On arrival day, humanity watched as the sleek silver ship descended through Earth's atmosphere. It landed with barely a sound on the massive platform constructed in international waters in the Pacific. The ship was beautiful, all curved lines and shimmering surfaces that seemed to change color with the angle of the sun. The being that emerged called itself Zor Thax of the Veldarian species. It stood nearly 7 feet tall with iridescent skin and 4 arms that moved with unsettling grace. Its translator device converted its musical language into flat, precise English. "We welcome Earth to the greater galactic community," it said, all 4 arms extending in what they were told was a gesture of peace. "The Council has determined your species has achieved the necessary development benchmarks for preliminary contact." Laura stepped forward. "On behalf of humanity, we welcome peaceful exchange." As the formal greetings continued, Lucy Parker, a junior intelligence analyst watching the broadcast, noticed something odd in the translation delay. Certain phrases took longer to translate than others of similar complexity. She made a note to investigate further. That night, while the diplomatic teams rested, Lieutenant William Morgan led a small security detail on a routine patrol around the landing site perimeter. His team's sensors picked up unusual radiation spikes coming from the alien vessel. "Command, we're detecting active scanning of our defense networks," he reported quietly. At the same moment, deep in the communications center, Alan Wright discovered that the encrypted transmissions between the visitor ship and the objects near Jupiter had increased tenfold. The Galactic Council had arrived with smiles and open arms, but something about their friendly overtures didn't quite add up. As dawn broke on the second day of contact, Laura Bennett prepared for negotiations with a growing sense that humanity was not being told the whole truth. Lucy Parker sat in the small analysis room, surrounded by screens filled with translation data. For 3 days, she had been comparing the official council translations with the raw audio. The patterns she found troubled her deeply. They're deliberately mistranslating certain terms, she told her supervisor over a secure line. When they say cultural integration, their actual phrase is closer to absorption or assimilation. Her supervisor, a stern woman named Gwen Harper, frowned. Are you certain? Yes. I've cross-referenced with all 23 languages they've provided samples of. The discrepancies are consistent. Within an hour, Lucy was presenting her findings to Admiral Miller and Captain Bennett. The conference room was silent as she played audio clips with revised translations. So when they say they want to share technological advancements at an appropriate pace, they're actually saying they will permit limited technological access under supervision, Laura said, her voice tight. Admiral Miller's face darkened. And these terms about mutually beneficial resource exchange. Lucy hesitated. Sir, the closest translation is extraction rights in exchange for protection. Meanwhile, Dr. Ryan Phillips was deep in the archives. The council had provided what they called a brief cultural overview of member species. Ryan had been searching for patterns, cross-referencing with Earth history. What he found chilled him. Every species followed the same pattern, he explained to the command team that evening. First, limited contact. Then, acceptance of council terms. Within 50 years, each civilization became dependent on council technology. Within 100, they lost all autonomy. Lieutenant Morgan added his own findings. My team detected active scans of our water bodies and genetic repositories. They're taking inventory of Earth's resources. Laura looked down at the latest transmission from the council representatives. They're pushing for a decision within 72 hours. They claim it's standard procedure, but based on what we've learned. It's to prevent us from learning exactly what we're learning now, Admiral Miller finished. That night, William Morgan led a covert operation. His team, using stealth technology kept hidden from the council visitors, infiltrated the alien vessel while most of its crew attended a diplomatic dinner. What they found confirmed their worst fears. Targeting systems, William reported back, primed and aimed at every major city on Earth, and what looks like transport vessels designed for mass movement of, well, people. The next morning, the council representative, Zor Thax, presented the formal terms to Earth's delegation. The large alien smiled with its unusual mouth as it spoke of friendship and advancement. The Council welcomes Earth as a protected territory, it said smoothly. In exchange for our guidance and protection, we ask only for reasonable access to your unique planetary resources and biological diversity. Captain Bennett maintained a neutral expression. And the limitations on our space exploration. Merely temporary safety measures, Zor Thax replied. New species often overextend themselves without proper guidance. The restricted zones will be gradually reduced as Earth demonstrates responsibility. Laura nodded politely, but her mind was racing. The restricted zones included nearly all valuable resource areas in the solar system, according to the star charts. Back at command, Samantha Kelly from the Defense Department revealed another discovery. We've intercepted an internal council communication. They refer to humans as viable labor assets and surprisingly adaptable to various environments. Admiral Miller looked around the table at Earth's Secret Defense Council. Options. We could stall for time, suggested one official. Ryan Phillips shook his head. Based on historical patterns, delay tactics will only give them time to position more forces. Every species that tried to negotiate better terms ended up worse off. What about our hidden defenses? Asked Laura. Are they ready? Admiral Miller smiled grimly. The Council thinks they know our military capacity. They have no idea what we've been preparing for the last 50 years. As the deadline for Earth's answer approached, the United Earth Assembly gathered in secret. The evidence was presented. The true nature of the generous offer was made clear. The vote, when it came, was unanimous. Earth would reject the Council's terms. The Grand Hall fell silent as Captain Laura Bennett walked toward the Council delegation. Her steps echoed on the marble floor. Behind her stood Admiral Miller and 6 other representatives from Earth's major regions. They all wore the same determined expression. Zorthax smiled with its strange mouth, 4 arms folded in what humans now knew was a gesture of superiority, not welcome. "We trust Earth has come to the sensible decision," the alien said. "The protection of the Galactic Council will ensure your species thrives under our guidance." Laura took a deep breath and looked directly into the alien's multifaceted eyes. "The United Earth Assembly has carefully considered your proposal. We appreciate the Council taking interest in our world." The alien's smile widened. However, Laura continued, her voice growing stronger. "Earth must respectfully decline your terms." The smile vanished from Zorthax's face. Its skin changed color rapidly, shifting from iridescent blue to a deep purple. The other council members behind it began making high-pitched sounds their translators didn't convert. "This is most unusual," Zorthax said after a long pause. "Perhaps there has been a misunderstanding of the benefits we offer." Admiral Miller stepped forward. "There is no misunderstanding. We have examined your proposal carefully, including the parts you deliberately mistranslated." One of the smaller aliens in the council delegation made a sharp gesture. Zorthax turned and spoke rapidly in their language. The translators remained silent. When Zorthax faced the humans again, its voice had a new edge. "Earth is making a grave error. The Council's protection is not optional for developing worlds. There will be consequences for this unprecedented defiance." "We understand your position," Laura replied calmly. "Earth has made its decision. We welcome peaceful relations between equals, but we will not accept the terms as presented." Zorthax straightened to its full height. "You have 72 hours to reconsider before the Council takes appropriate action. I strongly advise your leaders to make the correct choice." As the Council delegation returned to their ship, Admiral Miller activated his secure communication device. "Initiate Prometheus Protocol." Around the world, deep underground facilities hummed to life. In bunkers beneath mountains and oceans, systems dormant for decades activated. In the asteroid belt, hidden bases revealed ships far more advanced than anything Earth had publicly acknowledged. At the Geneva Command Center, screens lit up showing a vast defensive network. Colonel Joseph Harris monitored the activation sequence. All orbital platforms online. Shield generators at 90% and rising. Dr. Samantha Kelly looked up from her console. "Quantum shield technology ready. If their weapons are what we think they are, this should give them a nasty surprise." The Council ship rose from Earth without another word. As it departed, Lieutenant Morgan's sensors detected massive energy spikes from the vessels near Jupiter. "They're communicating with the fleet," he reported. "Heavy data transmission, likely sending everything they learned about our defenses." Laura turned to Admiral Miller. "How much do they know?" "Only what we wanted them to see," he answered with a thin smile. "For 50 years, we've shown the world one face while preparing another. Even our own citizens don't know the full extent of our preparations." The next morning, global communications networks carried an address from Admiral Miller to the people of Earth. He stood tall, his uniform displaying medals from wars most people had never heard of. "Citizens of Earth, today I must share both concerning and reassuring news. We have been visited by representatives of the Galactic Council, who offered terms that would effectively reduce Earth to a client state. We have declined." Screens showed the massive Council ships now moving toward Earth, no longer hiding their presence. The Council may attempt to force compliance, but humanity has prepared for this day. For generations, we have developed technologies and defenses in secret, knowing that the universe might not be friendly. The broadcast switched to live footage of massive defense platforms emerging from hidden locations in orbit. Sleek ships rose from ocean depths. Mountainsides slid away to reveal missile arrays. We stand ready. We stand united. And we stand free. As Admiral Miller spoke, the first Council warships entered Earth orbit. They were met not by a helpless planet, but by a fully armed and ready human fleet. The Galactic Council had planned to find sheep. Instead, they found wolves in sheep's clothing. The Grand Council chamber on the massive space station Axiom Prime buzzed with angry voices. Representatives from 27 species argued in their native tongues while translation devices struggled to keep up. The curved walls of the chamber, usually glowing with a calm blue light, now pulsed red with emergency status. High Counselor Vexnar pounded his crystalline staff against the floor. Order. The emergency session of the Galactic Council will come to order. The voices gradually quieted. At the center of the chamber, Zorthax stood on the speaker's platform, its skin still an agitated purple. Honored counselors, it began, I bring disturbing news. The humans have rejected our standard integration offer. More concerning, they appear to have hidden military capabilities far beyond what our surveys detected. Murmurs spread through the chamber. A reptilian being named Kresh rose from its seat. How is this possible? Your reports indicated primitive spacefaring technology, with limited weapon systems. It seems, Zorthax said carefully, that humans have been deliberately concealing their true capabilities. For decades, they have shown us only what they wanted us to see. Images appeared in the air above the platform. Earth ships emerging from hidden bases, defense platforms activating around the planet, energy shields far more advanced than expected. An avian counselor named Peltrak fluffed its feathers in agitation. This changes everything. If they have hidden this much, what else might they be capable of? We must implement containment protocols immediately. The chamber erupted again. The Arcadian delegation, known for their aggressive stance, shouted support for immediate military action. The more diplomatic Tellurian faction called for renewed negotiations. High Counselor Vexnar raised both hands for silence. Before we decide, we must understand what we face. Intelligence Director Mirisar, share your findings. A small gray being with large black eyes stepped forward. Our analysis suggests humans are unlike any species we have encountered. They evolved on a death world with extreme environmental variation and countless predators. Their history is marked by constant warfare among themselves, yet remarkable cooperation when facing external threats. The director touched a control, and new images appeared. Human history, human wars, human resilience. Most concerning, Mirisar continued, humans appear to think differently. While our psychological models predict reasonable responses to superior force, humans have historically responded to threats with increased resistance rather than submission. They call it spite. On the Council fleet approaching Earth, Admiral Zav watched with growing concern as human vessels took formation. His second-in-command approached with fresh reports. Admiral, the humans have activated a quantum communication network. They are coordinating their defenses with zero lag time. Zav's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep worry. Have they made any aggressive moves? No, Admiral. They maintain defensive positions only. But our scanners detect energy signatures we cannot identify. Their shields appear to use principles unknown to our science. Zav sent an urgent message to the Council, requesting immediate guidance. Human capabilities exceed all predictions. Recommend caution. Back in the Council chamber, the message played for all to hear. The mood shifted from anger to uncertainty. A counselor from one of the oldest species spoke up. In 10,000 years of expansion, we have never encountered a species that rejected integration. Our protocols do not account for this situation. What if they share their technology with other protectorate worlds? Someone asked. The question hung in the air like a dreadful possibility. High Counselor Vexnar looked around the chamber. we face an unprecedented situation. The humans have not attacked, but they stand ready. They have not threatened, but they show teeth. If we attack and fail, other worlds may follow their example. The Tellurian representative stepped forward. I propose we withdraw our fleet to a safe distance and send a new diplomatic mission. One with true negotiators, not integration specialists. Voices rose again, some in agreement, others in protest. In Earth orbit, human ships held formation, weapons ready but not targeting. On the bridge of the flagship Guardian, Captain Laura Bennett watched the Council vessels carefully. "They've stopped advancing," Lieutenant Morgan reported. "They're holding position just beyond Mars orbit." Admiral Miller nodded. "Now we find out if they're willing to talk as equals, or if they only understand force." Earth waited, united and ready. Colonel Joseph Harris stood in the command center of Orbital Defense Platform Alpha, watching as technicians prepared systems that had been hidden for decades. The large circular room hummed with activity. Screens showed Earth's defensive grid coming fully online for the first time. Shield generators at full capacity, reported a young officer named Paul Green. All 27 platforms are operational and linked. Joseph nodded with satisfaction. "Begin final weapons check. I want everything ready if the Council decides to test us." On screens around the room, massive defense platforms became visible as their cloaking systems deactivated. Each platform was the size of a small city, bristling with weapons and surrounded by energy fields that distorted light around them. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Samantha Kelly made final adjustments to the quantum shield system. Her team had worked on this technology in secret for 15 years. The large underground facility contained equipment that few humans had ever seen. The Council ships use graviton-based weapons, she explained to Admiral Miller over a secure video link. "Our shields can absorb that energy and redirect it. If they fire on us, they'll essentially be shooting themselves." Admiral Miller's face showed a rare smile. "Well done, Doctor. Let's hope we don't need to demonstrate it." In orbit, Earth's hidden fleet of 200 advanced warships maintained their defensive formation. Each ship was sleek and black, designed to absorb rather than reflect sensor scans. They had been built in secret facilities beneath the oceans and in hollowed-out asteroids. Captain Laura Bennett stood on the bridge of the Guardian, Earth's flagship. The ship's curved windows offered a view of both Earth below and the distant Council fleet. "Any change in their position?" she asked. Lieutenant William Morgan checked his sensors. "No, Captain. They're still holding beyond Mars orbit, but they're scanning us constantly. They're trying to figure out our capabilities." Laura nodded. "Let them look. The more they see of our strength, the more likely they are to reconsider." On the lunar surface, Major Nicole Foster led her Special Forces team through final drills. They wore advanced combat suits that enhanced strength and speed. These soldiers had trained for years specifically for alien combat scenarios. "Remember," Nicole told her team, "their biology is different. Standard tactics won't work the same way. Aim for the points we've identified from the scans." Her soldiers nodded. They were ready. Back on Earth, underground bunker cities designed to house millions opened their massive doors for the first time. These facilities had been built in secret, funded by black budgets that even most governments didn't know existed. They contained food, water, and air supplies to last years if needed. In a secure communications center, Officer Eric Sullivan made an important discovery. He rushed to report to Admiral Miller. "Sir, I found a pattern in their transmissions. I can now intercept and decode Council communications in real time." The Admiral looked impressed. "That gives us a significant advantage. Begin monitoring all their channels. I want to know what they're saying to each other." As these preparations continued, screens around the world showed Admiral Miller addressing the global population. His strong face conveyed confidence and determination. "Citizens of Earth, for generations we have prepared for this moment. While we built our cities and worked our fields, a select few worked in secret to develop the technologies that now protect us. We did not choose this confrontation, but we are ready for it." He paused, looking directly into the camera. The Council expected to find an easy conquest. Instead, they found a united planet with teeth. "We hide our strength no longer. We will not fire the first shot, but make no mistake. If attacked, we will respond with overwhelming force." The Admiral's words were translated into every human language, reaching every corner of the planet. "We stand together or fall together." That has always been humanity's greatest strength. When faced with a common threat, we set aside our differences and unite. The Council does not understand this. They see a divided world of competing nations. They will learn that we are one people, one planet, and we will not surrender our freedom. Around the world, humans watched the sky and waited, united as never before. A soft alarm woke Captain Laura Bennett from a brief rest period. She checked her display and frowned. A small ship had appeared near Earth's moon, but it wasn't from the main Council fleet. "Unknown vessel approaching lunar orbit," Lieutenant Morgan reported, "not matching any Council design in our database." Laura studied the readings. "Are they broadcasting any signals?" "Yes, but it's not directed at us. It's aimed at—" William paused, double-checking his instruments. "It's communicating with someone on the lunar surface." Admiral Miller joined them on the bridge. "We have no authorized personnel in that sector of the moon." "The signal is encrypted, but not using Council protocols," Eric Sullivan added from his communication station. "It's something else entirely." Laura made a quick decision. Send a small team to investigate. No direct engagement unless threatened. On the lunar surface, in an abandoned mining facility, Representative Daniel Powell waited nervously. He had been secretly transported here after receiving a strange message through channels that shouldn't exist. As Earth's deputy ambassador to the United Nations, he had authority to meet with foreign entities, but this meeting was off all official records. A soft hum filled the room as air pressure normalized. A door slid open, revealing a being unlike the Council representatives. This alien was tall and slender with pale, almost translucent skin. 4 large eyes blinked in sequence. "I am Seltor of the Nexary," the being said in perfect English. "We have monitored your situation. We wish to speak without Council knowledge." Daniel remained cautious. "How do you know our language? And why contact us in secret?" "The Council believes the Nexary extinct. We prefer it that way." The alien's voice was melodic, almost soothing. "We were once like you, a species that refused integration. We paid a heavy price but survived in hiding." Before Daniel could respond, alarms blared. Human security forces had arrived outside the facility. Zeltor raised both hands in a gesture of peace. "Please, we mean no harm. We offer alliance against a common enemy." When the security team entered, led by Major Nicol Foster, they found Daniel and the alien in calm conversation. After tense introductions, Nicol established a secure link to Earth Command. "Sir," she reported to Admiral Miller, "you're going to want to hear this." Hours later, on the Guardian's secure conference room, Laura, Admiral Miller, and a small group of senior officials listened as the Nexary ambassador spoke. "The Council has dominated our galaxy for millennia through deception and force," Seltor explained. "They approach new species with offers of protection, then slowly strip away their autonomy. Those who resist face destruction or subjugation." "Why come to us now?" Admiral Miller asked. "Because you did what few have done. You saw through their lies and showed strength. Several species have been planning rebellion against Council rule. Your defiance has given them courage." Strategic Officer Olivia Martinez, an expert in multi-species coalition warfare, leaned forward. "How many species are part of this potential alliance?" 7 have committed already. 5 more will join if Earth stands firm. Seltor's large eyes blinked slowly. "Together, we can challenge Council dominance." Olivia began working on tactical simulations immediately. Her mind raced with possibilities as she integrated the new information about potential allies. With coordinated strikes across multiple sectors, She explained to Admiral Miller later, "We could force the Council to divide their forces. Their control depends on no one believing resistance is possible." Meanwhile, Eric Sullivan made another discovery. "Sir, the Council knows about the lunar meeting. Their communications show increased alarm. They're referring to extinction protocol violations and contamination risks." Laura's face grew serious. "They're afraid of us talking to other species." The fear proved justified. Within hours, a small Council strike force broke away from the main fleet and accelerated toward the moon. "They're targeting the lunar facility," William reported, watching his sensors. "Weapons charging." Admiral Miller stood tall. "Intercept them. The Nexari ambassador is under Earth's protection now." As Earth ships moved to defend the moon, the first actual shots of the conflict were fired. A Council ship launched energy weapons at the lunar facility. The quantum shields Dr. Kelly had designed flared to life, absorbing the attack and redirecting it back at the attackers. The Council ship's hull cracked under the reflected energy. The conflict had begun, not with an invasion of Earth, but with the Council's desperate attempt to prevent an alliance that could threaten their power. Earth had found friends among the stars. The Council fleet commander could not believe the readings on his screen. The human defenses had not only absorbed their attack, but reflected it back with greater force. 3 Council ships were damaged, and 1 was completely destroyed. "Pull back to safe distance," ordered Admiral Zav, his 6 eyes blinking rapidly in distress. "All ships, hold fire." On Earth, the news of the first battle spread quickly. Screens showed the Council attack and Earth's successful defense. People cheered in the streets. For the first time, they saw proof that humanity could stand against the alien threat. Admiral Miller gathered his command staff. "The Council has fired the first shot. Now we respond." Captain Laura Bennett nodded. "The Guardian is ready to lead the first strike force. We have the coordinates of 3 Council control stations beyond our solar system." "Good," said the Admiral. "The Nexari have provided access codes to their communication network. We can coordinate with the other rebel species in real time." In his private lab, Dr. Kevin Russell activated a system that few even in the high command knew existed. The quantum communication network used principles of entangled particles to allow instant communication across any distance. No delay, no possibility of interception. "The network is online," he reported. "All rebel ships are now linked, regardless of distance." Laura stood on the bridge of the Guardian as the first Earth fleet prepared to leave the solar system. 100 ships formed up around her, their black hulls absorbing light. "All ships report ready, Captain," said Lieutenant Morgan. His face showed both excitement and tension. "Execute jump on my mark," Laura replied. She took a deep breath, knowing this would be the farthest any human ship had publicly gone. Mark. The fleet vanished in flashes of distorted space. The advanced drive systems, hidden for decades, allowed them to cross vast distances in moments. They reappeared near a Council monitoring station, orbiting a distant star. The station was massive, controlling ship movements across 3 sectors of space. "They're scrambling to raise shields," William reported. "They weren't expecting us." "All ships, target their communication arrays and power cores," Laura ordered. "Disable, don't destroy." Earth weapons fired. Precise beams of energy sliced through the station's defenses. Within minutes, the station went dark. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as other rebel species launched coordinated attacks. The Nexari struck at supply lines. The Orderi disabled patrol ships. The Council, used to complete control, found itself fighting on multiple fronts. In the Council chamber, panic spread. Reports of attacks came from everywhere. "How is this possible?" demanded High Counselor Vexnar. "How are they coordinating?" Intelligence Director Mirisar had no answer. "They're communicating faster than light itself. We cannot intercept or block their signals." On the Guardian, Laura received updates from across the galaxy. The Council forces are fragmenting. They're pulling back to defend their core systems. More species joined the fight as news spread of successful attacks. Those who had suffered under Council rule for centuries saw a chance for freedom. Lieutenant Carol Davis, analyzing data from captured Council systems, made a critical discovery. "Captain, I found something. The Council's central control hub is in the Epsilon Eridani system. All their major decisions flow from there." Laura immediately contacted Admiral Miller with the news. The Admiral's face showed grim satisfaction. "If we take that hub, we can force the Council to negotiate on our terms," he said. "Prepare for a decisive strike." The plan was bold. Earth ships would lead a direct assault on the Council's most protected system. The rebel species would create diversions and cut off reinforcements. "We have one chance at this," Admiral Miller told the combined fleet commanders. "If we succeed, we end the Council's dominance forever. If we fail—" He didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone knew the stakes. The largest fleet ever assembled outside Council control gathered at the edge of the Epsilon Eridani system. Human ships flew alongside vessels from a dozen other species, all united by the desire for freedom. Laura looked at the tactical display showing hundreds of ships ready for the final battle. On Admiral Miller's command, we make history. The countdown began for an attack that would change the galaxy forever. The combined fleet of human and rebel ships emerged from jump points around the Epsilon Eridani system. The massive Council station hung in space before them, surrounded by defense platforms and warships. It was shaped like a giant wheel with spokes connecting to a central hub. Lights glowed along its surface, showing the vast scale of the structure. "All ships in position," Lieutenant Morgan reported on the Guardian's bridge. "Council forces are moving to intercept." Captain Laura Bennett studied the tactical display. "Begin Phase 1. Let's see if our surprise works." Throughout the Council defense fleet, systems suddenly failed. Weapons went offline. Shields flickered and died. The sabotage codes provided by the Nexari infiltrators had worked perfectly. "Half their fleet is disabled," Laura announced. "All ships, advance to Phase 2 positions." The rebel fleet moved forward in perfect formation. Earth ships formed the spearhead, their advanced shields absorbing the few shots the Council vessels could still fire. On the Council station, alarms blared. The High Council gathered in their emergency chamber, faces showing fear for the first time in centuries. "How did they find us? How did they disable our defenses?" High Counselor Vexnar demanded. No one had answers. The species that had ruled the galaxy through fear and manipulation now faced the consequences of their actions. Admiral Miller's voice echoed through every communication system on the station. "Attention Council leadership. This is Admiral Frank Miller of Earth. Your fleet is disabled. Your station is surrounded. We demand your immediate surrender." The Council chamber fell silent. After a moment, Vexnar replied, "What are your terms?" "The complete dissolution of the current Council structure. An end to forced integration. The formation of a new galactic alliance where all species have equal representation." The Council members looked at each other in disbelief. Such demands were unprecedented. "And if we refuse?" Vexnar asked. Admiral Miller's reply was calm but firm. "Then we will disable your station and detain your leadership. The new alliance will be formed without you." Outside, the station was completely surrounded. The combined fleet of 12 species had the Council headquarters at their mercy. After brief but heated discussions, the Council made the only choice they could. "We agree to negotiations." Within hours, Captain Laura Bennett led a delegation onto the Council station. Armed guards from Earth and the rebel species accompanied them. They marched through grand hallways designed to intimidate visitors with their scale and splendor. In the central chamber, the full Council waited. Laura stood before them, representing not just Earth but all free species. "The age of Council dominance is over," she declared. "Today we begin building a true galactic confederation based on mutual respect and cooperation." The documents were prepared. One by one, representatives of each species signed the new charter. The council structure that had ruled for thousands of years was dissolved in a single day. As the last signature was added, cheers erupted throughout the chamber and across communication channels. The news spread rapidly across the galaxy. Freedom had won. 3 months later, delegates from 54 species gathered on Earth for the first assembly of the new Galactic Confederation. The Grand Meeting Hall in Geneva had been expanded to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. Admiral Miller, now elected as Earth's representative to the Confederation leadership, addressed the historic gathering. "We come together not as rulers and ruled, but as equals. Each species brings unique strengths and perspectives. Together, we will build a galaxy of peace and prosperity for all." The applause was deafening. Beings who had once feared each other now stood side by side. Later that evening, Laura stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The stars above seemed brighter somehow. Admiral Miller joined her. "Quite a view." Laura nodded. "Did you ever imagine we'd end up here when we first rejected their offer?" The Admiral smiled. "Humanity has always been good at surprising others. We offered our hand in peace, but when threatened, we showed the galaxy why you should never corner a species that clawed its way to the top of a death world." Across the stars, the story spread of how humans had changed everything. Not through conquest, but by standing firm, showing strength, and then extending the hand of true friendship. The galaxy would never be the same.